CGB, welcome back to the channel. People loved you so much that I thought we would bring you back once again. Today, we are going to be looking at some of the most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and you're going to be rating them in a couple of ways. You're going to be trying to determine if you think this card was ever banned, and you're going to try to guess the price of these cards as well. And I'm going to give you some context. The absolute minimum any of these cards would be is $100. So there will be nothing below $100 in this video. Aside from that, the sky's the limit. How are you feeling about your price guessing capabilities when it comes to some old cardboard?
Absolute zero. I didn't
Fantastic.
even know that's what I'm doing here. $100 for a Yu-Gi-Oh card?
Isn't it crazy how expensive these cards are? You know, imagine how much money you'd have to spend on more shiny cardboard if you got on top of your finances thanks to today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that helps you cancel your subscription, lower bills, and manage your money better. I'm using Rocket Money to set budgets. You can analyze your spending habits to create a custom budget that works with your lifestyle. Automatically monitor your spending by category and get notifications when you've exceeded your limits. I'm also using Rocket Money to cancel unwanted subscriptions. Just the other day, I found out I was still subscribed to a few subscription services that I use to create content that I no longer use. Safely and securely identify recurring charges, and you can even cancel from within the app with just a couple of taps. No need to worry about customer service calls, because who wants to be stuck on hold with customer service in 2024? Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when they use all the features, with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/Cimo or click the link in the description to sign up for free today. You can also unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/Cimo to get started for free.
I play Magic. I honestly have no idea anything about the Yu-Gi-Oh economy, like of any kind. I've followed the Magic one a bit, you know, so I know how much is missing from my bank account at the end of the month. That's about it. Like I don't have the vaguest idea of the price of any card you showed me last week. I've got nothing. I've got absolute nothing.
We're going to hold your hand. The training wheels are still on. I even picked cards that are also simple enough to still teach you some of the core mechanics of the game because you are still learning since you're a fledgling little aspiring Yu-Gi-Oh player. So let's get started with the first one. You actually saw this one in the episode we filmed last time, so it might ring a bell here.
Simple enough. All right, Blue Eyes White Dragon. Oh my gosh, it's like, here we go again. Okay.
Do you need your glasses?
No. We're good for right now. I'm just remembering what the words are. This is a level, oh god, I gotta count. This is a level 8. It's not a minion. It's a monster?
Correct. We have monsters in our game.
Level 8 monster. With 3,000 attack, 2,500 defense. It is a dragon, and it says this legendary dragon is a powerful engine of destruction, virtually invincible. Very few have faced this. Oh, that's just flavor text.
It is just flavor text. So let me give you some context here. So back in 2002, if little CGB was going to the store to want to buy some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I don't know why you'd want to do that because you play Magic. But let's go in this hypothetical, you know, Disneyland scenario. You go and want to buy some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. On the shelf, you would see the 2 starter decks, the Yugi starter deck, the protagonist, and the Kaiba starter deck, the antagonist. And Kaiba was the wielder of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and so this was the card you would see sticking through that little plastic window.
Yes.
And this is one of the most iconic cards in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yes. Okay. I have seen the very first episode.
Okay.
I am aware of these characters and the plot of episode 1.
Okay. What'd you think, by the way? What'd you think?
I mean, I haven't watched episode 2 yet, and that was a year ago.
What'd you think of episode 1? Just out of curiosity.
It didn't quite hook me. I was just like, it's fine.
Okay,
sure. It's fine. It didn't grab me. You know, it didn't suck me in. Maybe there's more to it here.
There's not.
Noted. Okay. But yeah, I would definitely be more on the villains deck. I'm definitely more of that vibe. So this would be my first deck back in the day if I had gone this road. So I'm guessing if it's anything like where Magic has gone, that there's like does the first edition mean something here? Like,
so the first edition would have been the very first printings back in 2002. Now, I will say they did reprint the structure decks, and so if it was an unlimited version, that first edition would no longer be there. They also moved where it says first edition in later cards. You're not going to see that in any cards today, I don't think. Yeah, so there are unlimited copies of this card. And also, the Blue Eyes White Dragon has been reprinted numerous times with different artwork. Sometimes the same artwork, sometimes different artwork, but unlike Magic, where if I recall, I believe like the first sets like have just never been reprinted because of like the reserve list or whatever. Yu-Gi-Oh! For the most part, has pretty much reprinted everything unless it is like a very specific like sort of tournament prize card that there's like only one of or very few of. Most of the cards you're going to be seeing today fall into the category of there are multiple copies of this card in circulation. But I'm going to be showing you either the originals, which this one is, or I'm going to be showing you maybe like the prettiest or the most coveted version of a card. And I'll get into that as we move forward.
oh, delightful. Are there foils?
This is a foil. It doesn't really look like it based off the picture, but it's this is what we call an ultra rare. So our rarity scale starts at common. The rare cards just have the text box in a silver foiling, so that's a rare. The super rare doesn't have anything with the text box, but the picture of the artwork itself is foil. And ultra rare, the picture is foil and the lettering is gold, and that's what this Blue Eyes White Dragon is. This is an ultra rare.
Gold lettering. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's any more. Is this what came with the deck? Like, does the ultra rare gold lettering version, is that what comes with that original deck?
This version I'm showing you came with the deck. Yes.
And you're telling me it's at least $100.
Everything I'm showing you, the absolute minimum it would be is $100, if anything.
Okay. And I'm trying to guess if it was ever banned, too.
Correct. So you can evaluate if you think it's good or bad, all that stuff. You can tell me if you think it's banned. That's your first test. And then as a bonus point, if you can guess the price of this. I'm curious what you would think something like this would be worth compared to your, Magic brain.
All right. Give me a price window, though. Like within how many dollars is a win in your eyes?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay. All right. This card, I evaluated it in the last video, sort of like the Timmy that you can pull off. And yeah, it hits really hard, but it's still not like half your life total, right? Remind me the life total.
8,000.
Yeah. So it's almost half the life total. It doesn't have a lot of other text. It's just a big whack.
Yep.
So I am guessing also just being an iconic card for the game and a draw for new players, they would never want to ban this card. They just wouldn't. They would probably bend over backwards to keep this card from being banned. So I'm going to guess this card was not banned purely as a marketing decision.
Do you think it's good, though?
You know what? There might be a world where somehow you cheat this out so easy and play a card that doubles its power so easy that it's that impactful on the game. But that would also apply to other things of that size. I doubt this is going to be the only thing ever of this size that we see. So I think it's just a big minion, and I doubt it's what breaks anything about the game. I think it's literally just a part of the game that if you want to go big, this is how you go big. That's what I'm calling this. So no, I don't think I'm not going to call it terrible because I don't have a lot of reference for the size. I just think it's fine.
I will say 3,000 is even by today's standards, 3,000 is still considered to be quite large in the game just because it can hit over primarily everything for the most part. And so everything you've said thus far is correct. They don't want to ban this because obviously it's like the icon of the show. I wouldn't say this is necessarily like a bad card by the old days standards. It's actually like okay. There were cards, like you said, to cheat this out, and we might see some of those later in this video. But also, as the game aged, this archetype, as well as many others, the Blue Eyes archetype, received countless amounts of legacy support to make the deck more playable. So much so that this deck, playing this card you see in front of you, actually won the World Championship one year.
Hell yeah.
You do need to play the original Blue Eyes White Dragon in order to make the Blue Eyes deck function, which is hilarious. And it's cool because people are excited to actually play with this card. So in itself, it wasn't like the best card ever, but it's something that, Konami always wanted to make sure that it was still relevant in some capacity. It's actually receiving a new structure deck worth of support, I believe, end of this year or early next year. So even to this day, they're still giving us Blue Eye support. Now, the big question, though, CGB, how much do you think the first edition starter deck Kaiba Blue Eyes White Dragon would be worth?
So there are cards in Magic that are not priced on power level. They're priced on nostalgia factor, right? I'm thinking of Shivan, like the card that I think of the most obvious parallel is Shivan Dragon. Shivan Dragon was the chase rare in the original Magic set, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised, right? And Shivan Dragon is still printed in a number of locations today. It was reprinted with new art in like Ravnica Remastered, or no, Dominaria Remastered. And that was just in the last few years. And it's not a power level thing. It's like people love this card. They wanted this card. The first time my friend who lived down the street beat me with that card, I got mad. All right. So it's a nostalgia play. So what would an Alpha Shivan Dragon be worth? It's definitely above rate for what it actually does. The fact that this card is still playable and is supported is actually makes it better than like a Shivan Dragon approach, right? Because this card, I mean, my understanding in tournaments, you can still play the oldest version of this card if you have it, right?
Correct. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an eternal format. So the cards, most of the cards I'm going to be showing you are very old and they're still playable, assuming they're not banned, which is part of what you're trying to figure out.
Yep. So if you are that guy and you roll up with the first edition ultra rare gold lettered Blue Eyes White Dragon, it's peacocking for boys. It's a status flex, all right? We're showing how into this we are. And I get it. I love to foil out decks. I made an all foil deck. I have a video of it on my channel a little while ago using a serialized Leonardo da Vinci. It's like building a $2,000 deck from scratch, I think is the title of that video. How much would these nerds pay to roll up with the original Biggest Bad? You know what? I honestly have no basis. This will set the tone.
Yep, this will set the tone.
Let's set the tone. I'm going to just say they look at a number on the card that they remember and say, you know what? We'll charge that. $3,000.
Final answer.
Let's do it.
The first edition Blue Eyes White Dragon from Starter Deck Kaiba. I will say for all of these cards, I went by the first edition light play version. There are some of these that I could find near mint, but most of them were light play, so I decided to keep it consistent just because the price of that can get really volatile, so I think the light play made the most sense. $330. You were way off on that.
Oh, come on.
What does a Shivan Alpha Dragon go, or a Shivan Dragon Alpha go for, out of curiosity?
A near mint in the U.S. is $7,950.
Okay,
you
not
can
even
buy
close.
it today.
We're not even close.
Holy cow. So,
all right, well, we learned something.
And again, Shivan Dragon's unplayable. Like,
I will say with this Blue Eyes that I showed you, though, this is the original print of it. This is not the most, I want to say, like, the most coveted printing. There are a couple other printings of this card that
I assumed it would be. Damn it.
So it's coveted because it's the original. There are some with different artworks, but people prefer this artwork because this is what Kaiba used in the show. So, but there are other ones that are way more expensive because of the way that they were like distributed. They were a lot harder to acquire because it didn't just come in a starter deck product. One of them came in the very first set, which is aptly named Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. And another one was actually distributed through a video game, as you would buy. It was for the Game Boy Color. You would buy the game and it would come with 3 promotional cards. And the Blue Eyes White Dragon in there was one of them.
Unreal. Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Another thing about this. So the other thing I really wasn't sure, because Magic's first edition Alpha was such a small print run. I wasn't sure how much of this deck got printed or for how long. So that definitely played into it too. And I think I assumed it was like maybe a 1 year smaller print run because it was the first for the game, but I bet I'm wrong about that.
Well, let's show you your next card. You have a baseline now to sort of like see in the area that we're working with. We're going to show you the protagonist card, Yugi's Dark Magician from Yugi's starter deck.
Okay. So going back to the same time period, this one doesn't have the gold lettering, or am I crazy?
It's the same rarity. It would be the
rarity.
pictures they show us. Yes, this was also an ultra rare. Yep.
Dark Magician is a level 7 monster. Its attack is 2,500, defense is 2,100. Spellcaster, the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense. So the other one, that's just the type of thing it is. So what's the real question here? The rate is similar to Blue Eyes White Dragon, kind of. It's still hard for me to grasp all the numbers, but it seems reasonable, right?
Sure.
That they're both just kind of the big bad that your deck plays. The thing that is like, yo, but now I bring out my Dark Magician.
That's exactly how it sounds, actually. That's exactly how it sounds.
You do that voice? Okay. Dark Magician will hit you for 2,500.
That's literally what it sounds like when they're in the show. Yep.
Excellent.
Great.
All right. I'm
you auditioning.
Voice actor. Yeah, send me in. Tag me in, coach. All right. So if the other one is $330 and the minimum is $100, I'm rating this as a card, as a playable card. I don't see a reason to rate it much differently than the dragon. Like they seem of a similar idea to me. The concept here is the same to me. Play the big thing.
Do you think the protagonist card would be more popular, equally popular, or less popular than the antagonist?
That is what we are solving for today. I think it depends who's buying. Because when you're a kid, right, do you want to be the antagonist? They're a bully, right? They're frowned upon. Like, you want to be the hero of the story. But it's just like with pro wrestling, right? As a kid, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. As an adult, Randy Orton. Give me the heel. Give me the person being a good bad guy. That makes me tune in to see just how diabolical they are, right? And so it's like, who's buying this as kids? Probably buying more of the hero. But as you get older, who's paying a lot of money for these expensive versions? It's adults. And adults, I think, like the heel. So with this completely terrible, convoluted, totally main character syndrome logic I've applied, I'm going to say that this is a $150 card.
Final answer.
Yes.
I will give you a point for this because you are extremely close. You can pick up the first edition starter deck Yugi ultra rare Dark Magician for about $130. You actually overshot it a little bit. So congrats, you're on the board with a point.
Yes.
All the same logic to the Blue Eyes applies to the Dark Magician. In the video game promo, you could also get the Dark Magician as one of the promos as well. But same thing, it's not the most highly desired Dark Magician, but it has plenty of legacy support. I think people like Blue Eyes better generally. I mean, it just looks way cooler. And like you said, people just kind of, although Kaiba is the antagonist, he's also like a good guy at the same time, the more you get into the show. So he's like the antagonist that you love, but he also does the right thing at the end of the day. Yeah, that's, I just was curious, if you fell on, the hero side of things, the villain side of things, and that was an incredibly good guess. So I am impressed. I'll be really impressed if you can get this third one.
Okay, but really quick. Heel or villain? Like, do you cheer for the villain or for the hero? Like, which are 100%. You right now? You're a villain too. Okay,
I was the Kaiba kid,
okay.
100%.
I would have guessed. Yeah. Okay.
Here's your next card, inspired by the one that you just saw.
Oh my God, Dark Magician Girl.
Yep.
Okay. This is a. It's so weird to say about this. This is a level 6 monster. Mm-hmm. With an attack of 2,000 and a defense of 1,700. Spellcaster / effect. Increase the ATK. Increase the attack of this monster by 300 points for each Dark Magician or Magician of Black Chaos in either player's graveyard. Oh, so she get mad when her boys are defeated? Is that the flavor?
I think that's the flavor.
She gets mad. Oh no, but she's cute. Look at the eyes.
He's already figuring it out.
Oh no, it's waifu technology.
I was about to ask you, CGP, does Magic have, what is Magic's waifu? If Magic has a poster child waifu, what is it?
I have to go with Liliana Vess.
Okay, this is the poster child waifu card for Yu-Gi-Oh! For context. So whenever you guess, you might be having to apply the waifu tax to it. I will give you that as a hint. And
this is in the deck with Dark Magician for sure. Like, this is in the original deck. Like the same
No,
print
so
run
this
as
is
the
not
others?
the original deck.
Oh,
this was
okay.
actually printed, I want to say, about a year later. Dark Magician Girl actually didn't debut in the anime until the second season. But as soon as she did, you could imagine she was incredibly popular. This card, so this card was released about a year later in a booster set. This card is what we call a secret rare. So a secret rare is another step above ultra rare. This
my
was
God.
So in the booster sets, our booster boxes are 24 packs. A secret rare was 1 in every 24. You were guaranteed a secret rare in a box. I think maybe in the old days it wasn't even guaranteed. It may have been 1 in every other box. So it was either 1 in 24 or 1 in 48. But you should have gotten a secret rare typically on average in every booster box that you got.
So you have 5 booster rarities?
We have more than that. I'm keeping it simple for now.
Thank you. I appreciate
These are the
that so
original
much.
rarities that I just described to you. Yes. But this is the highest rarity as far as booster sets are concerned, is secret rare.
Look at that face. That face sold so many boxes, dude.
She actually wasn't the card they put on the booster pack, which is kind of incredible to think about.
I mean, it's secret. You can't just put it out there, bro.
I guess that's true. I guess that's true.
What are you gonna, you have to call it a totally unsecret rare at that point. Similar evaluation. It's a high price for a good attack that's a little better under certain circumstances. I doubt what the card does has anything to do with the price. I'm just gonna...
You'd be correct in that assumption.
I'm just gonna go there. Man, I should have paid more attention. I had a time in my life where I was actually earning money playing Shadowverse. So
Really?
Okay. I refer to my age of Shadowverse pro play. And I should have paid more attention, man. I should have paid attention because they released a card game called Evolve, and I am curious how much they sell their waifus for. God, that sounds bad. And why is she really called Dark Magician Girl? Like
Yes.
the whole time, just doesn't have a name.
That's her name. She's the Dark Magician
That's
Girl.
the name, of course. Why would I think that?
Why would it be anything else?
Why would it be? No idea. The DMG, baby.
That's actually what we call her, the DMG. You're right.
God, how much for a foil? Dark Magician
Okay, so where are you
Girl?
at? Where are you at compared to the cards you've seen thus far?
As far as power level?
Oh, no, in terms of price. I think you've already assessed the power level of this card correctly.
It's gotta be high. Exactly. I don't know if it's fair to ask about the print run, and I also don't know if it's like meaningfully like mattering. I'd hope you'd tell me if something were super limited print run compared to the other cards you show me.
Yes, it was the 7th or 8th set they released, so take that with, any card game, how much they would produce of a card game that they first released in the first year.
So probably what you could expect from a print run.
And again, there are unlimited versions of this card as well, and it's been reprinted in multiple other rarities as time has progressed, but this is the original. This is the OG Dark Magician Girl.
I want to shoot really high, and then I want to cool myself down.
How high are you thinking?
Well, at first I want to get into 4 digits, and then I'm going to cool myself down a little bit. I'm going to go $800.
Final answer.
Yep, that's it.
Given the fact that you had like 0 baseline for this, I am thoroughly impressed. I think I'll give this one to you. A first edition Magician's Force Secret Rare Dark Magician Girl light play goes for about $750. You were actually very close. You were actually very close.
Okay. I feel good. All right. I didn't know how intense waifu fever could get. Okay, I was scared. I was like, this one, if you had told me this one's $3,000, it would have both made my head explode, but I've also been like, sure. I have no idea how far this rabbit hole goes.
I will say the waifu tax in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definitely real. I don't think it's as bad compared to Dark Magician Girl, but even today when they still print other, similar cards, it can definitely inflate the price of the value of that card, even if it doesn't necessarily deserve it from a more objective gameplay perspective. But you know what? That's just the way card games are. All right, so I wanted to ease you into this. I think you've got sort of like a baseline now, just showing you these first 3 cards of kind of like where we're working with. And now we're going to start to show you some more playable cards. Some cards that, we would actually want to play instead of these 3. Because Dark Magician Girl, while, it's the ultimate waifu card, she has a purpose in the Dark Magician deck, but it's not really like... She's kind of just there. It's kind of whatever. She's fine. Let's show you this card. Let's see what you think about this one.
Monster Reborn is a magic card. No, it's not.
Sorry, I can't show you this. The lawsuit.
I'm gonna get removed from my own channel. All right. I'm sorry, Wizards. I just wanted views. Select one monster card from either your opponent's or your own graveyard and place it on the field under your control in attack or defense position. This is considered a special summon. Now, you told me a little about special summons, right? That you get one a turn?
No, so you get as many special summons per turn as you want. You only get one normal summon per turn. That's why it's normal. Now, for a bit of context, LOB, the set code in the bottom right over there, LOB is the first set, Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. So this is one of the first cards printed. This was printed also in the starter decks that had the Blue Eyes and the Dark Magician as a common card. But this is the original print. This is an ultra rare, so the shiny gold version of it. And this is a first edition that I'm having you rate here.
First edition, you said it was a common card in the deck, but this is an ultra rare? And is what makes it the ultra rare, is it a different art? Is there anything?
Because
you
just
said
the foiling.
Okay.
Just the foiling. So again, it's the gold lettering, which again, by the pictures is kind of hard to tell. And the picture itself is foil. I have a few of these that I'll show you that you can actually see like the foiling more detailed, but that's for a specific reason.
So I think this card is very good. I have to put my Yu-Gi-Oh brain back on because everything's free.
We don't have costs in our game. We don't have everything's free.
Everything's free. Everything can attack the turn it comes out. You get one normal summon a turn. So opponent summons kick-ass creature A. You summon kick-ass creature B. And you kick the ass of creature A. And then you play this and you take creature A, and you basically got away with getting 2 summons out of your turn. And that seems really good. I mean, I'm not sure. It's hard without understanding all the directions a turn can take. And you told me like you can cast any number of spells, but this seems really good. Just an extra summon as long as something dies. Also, if your own thing dies, it's just back. I imagine there's also a significant advantage that I really, even I've seen some cards, don't understand because I've never played a game about choosing your attack or defense position, and that may make this interesting, but really it's just an extra summon. Okay, Price. Was this ever banned?
Well, first of all, do you think this is banned? Yeah, the other ones we kind of, you kind of assumed they just weren't even banned at all, but now we're actually getting into some more playable cards here.
Yeah, it depends on how unique this effect is. And again, it's so hard without playing a game. I'm just trying to picture how games go.
I will give you some context, if it helps you out. For when this was printed, this was one of the only cards that had this effect because it was in the first set.
Yeah.
As the next few sets came out, I want to say there was only a handful of cards that had an effect similar to this, but they weren't as generic as this. They may have had an effect like this, but came with some cost, which might surprise you, or some sort of condition, let's say.
Okay, so this was the first of its kind, and from then on, the development scaled back from it instead of powering it up. That is usually a sign of a very broken card. That is usually... You're basically telling me this was a very broken card.
I was for the original game. I will say now that we're 23, 25 years deep into this game, the ability to special summon has become very prolific. So I was giving you solely the context of when it was first printed.
Sure. It's still, they spent years backing away from it, like making it a little more difficult.
Well, they didn't want to print the same card. They have to give it a little bit of flavor.
And you can run 3 of these?
3 is the maximum copy, correct.
And
like, it's free.
There's no limitation, right?
I was waiting for you to say
it's free. There's no limitation of like what kind of deck it goes in, like classes like Hearthstone or Color. Like this can be in every deck. So, like, similar to the Draw 2 card, you can just have 3 of this in every deck. So why wouldn't you? Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah, restricted or banned. Let's just say it was banned for a period because they definitely wouldn't print other cards that were worse than it and still have this legal because what's the point? So I'm going to say, based on what I've heard, I'm going to guess that this was banned for a period of time. All right, how much?
I will let you know that you were correct. This was banned for a period of time. It is actually legal now, once again, but it is actually limited to 1 copy. So you're only still allowed 23 years later to have 1 copy of this card in your deck.
It's restricted now. Okay.
It is restricted, yes. I forgot. You have different terms for the same thing. Yes.
So you can play this now. You get one copy, and what if you wanted it to be the first edition, foiliest, shiniest version? How much would you pay for the privilege of having the greatest monster reborn? You can play it in probably almost every deck, although it's not as good now, but it like as a one of, it can probably fit in a number of decks. Unless
I will also say this card was in the anime and was basically used by every character in the anime.
Nice. Okay. It's got a lot of popularity going for it. So how much do you pay for a really shiny version of this to roll up to your Yu-Gi-Oh tournament with? This is uncharted territory. The other three were a lot easier once I got the $3,000 guess out of my system. This, like, I don't know what a playable, like a highly played card is going to be worth most of the time. We're going into the dark. I'm going to guess 300.
Final answer.
Final answer, 300.
You know, you say you're not good at this, and yet I don't know how you're doing it. You're actually getting, like, really almost on the mark with all of these. So a first edition LOB Monster Reborn is $315.
Damn.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Your intuition with this is actually ridiculous. We started off rough, but you reeled it back in for sure.
I mean, if you go by dollar value, I'm still like about $2,000 over.
We don't talk about that. That's
okay.
That's
but
fine.
No. It's cool. I'm starting to realize that like 1v1 tournament Yu-Gi-Oh players and Magic players have a lot in common with, I think, what they're willing to pay to look good.
Sure. And I think that's what makes this fun. Let's show you, we showed you some monsters. We showed you a spell. Let's show you a trap card now.
Bottomless trap hole. I'm going to remember trap cards. You play them for free, and
You set them face down.
They're face down, and when the opponent does a thing, they turn face up. Let's see. When your opponent summons a monster with an attack of 1,500 or more, destroy and remove from play the monster. Yep. Okay.
Yes. So trap cards either fall in one of two camps. They either have to respond directly to an action happening, which their activation window then allows you to play that card. It might be a more generic trap card that you can activate at instant speed, at will, depending on, you know, if you want to or not. But this is the former. This is a reactive card to your opponent's summoning. As people started to go to local tournaments, Konami provided local game stores with what we call tournament packs. These are packs that you could only get from playing in your local tournament. Typically, if you would enter a tournament, this was kind of like you paid $5 to play in the local, and they would give you one of these packs sort of as like your entry prize, if you will. In these tournament packs, and we might see a few of these cards later on, were upgraded rarity versions of cards that may or may not have seen play in the actual tournament scene, or were actually how some cards got first introduced into the game altogether. But Bottomless Trap Hole, this one I'm showing you here, this is a champion pack, which is a deviation on the tournament pack. This was a upgraded rarity of the card, and this is seen as the highest rarity of this card today. This is if people want this card, this is the version that they're typically chasing.
My first instinct is that it's probably an annoying card, but it's just removal. It's unlikely this had to be banned. It's very unlikely. It seems just fine. It's like a card to destroy a good card. It can be a total blowout. The opponent has probably counterplay. You play the thing that you into the trap card that you'd want destroyed more, or then you just use the Monster Reborn and get it right back, and you're having a nice flavorful time. So I don't think this got banned. It's probably like it's your vegetables. You need something to make sure the game is a game and not a coin flip of who went first. I am going to guess this card has not been banned.
That is correct. You're correct. This card has not been banned. I believe it has been limited, or it's been semi-limited, definitely. It may have been limited at one point, but never banned. It was never that good. Like you said, it's a fine card. It was a fine card.
I'm going to try to remember some of like the promo foil things that you got at local game stores for Magic, because you're right, they had a very similar thing, and they still do. Yep. So I have had experience with some recently that were like nice, shiny, foily, extra special versions of stuff, and about how much they went for versus the others. So
you guys have like stamped cards too, which is kind of cool. We don't have those. I really wish we did.
This is a vegetable card. So I'm going to try to think of another vegetable card. And I know it's at least $100 by the context. I don't think it's busted. I don't think it's insane power level. So I don't think it's going to be like a Monster Reborn, but I also don't know how to value the extra specialness upgraded version of it yet. But I'm thinking that's about a 3xer maybe. A lot of what I'm thinking about are like $5 cards that become $40 cards in Magic, sure. But $40 is a lot different from $400. How much would I pay for this at the regular version? Just a good old common version. Don't answer this. I'm working it out. Okay. Probably not very much. Notepad out? Probably not very much. Probably under 10 for like a common, probably well under that. So if it's at least 100, you're getting a huge benefit off this. So it was probably available for a very limited time, but it can't be much more than 100. I mean, there's a chance that it's so ubiquitous that it gets played in so many decks, but there's probably a ton of versions of it available if that's true. My gut says to go with the base 100, but that could be so wrong, because if this is the ultra best, most rare version of something that goes in every deck, it could definitely get up to the 500 or more range. People wanting an all foil max rarity deck are crazy, and this would make sense for that, but you'd have to have at least 3 copies. I am going to go with the floor. I'm going to go with 100. That's what I'm going with.
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer.
Man, you should have went with your other line of thinking, because as soon as you said 500, I was actually losing my mind, and all the faces I was making to the camera are going to be hilarious. A CP super rare bottomless trap hole is actually $520. Now, that might sound insane for just something that's like a hollow reprint, but let me give you some context here. So, bottomless trap hole is a card that sees 0 modern play whatsoever. By modern Yu-Gi-Oh standards, this card is unplayable. However, there is a extremely popular retro format that is currently gaining a lot of popularity called Edison format. Edison format is a format in Yu-Gi-Oh that basically takes place by the March 2010 ban list. So it's everything from March 2010 and before, abiding by that set of bans and restrictions and so on. And it's a very popular format because it sort of harkens back to older Yu-Gi-Oh in a lot of ways. Bottomless Trap Hole is semi-limited during this time. And I don't want to say it's a staple in every single deck during this period, but there are a lot of decks that play this card, and they play it at 2 copies. As a result, like you said, there are plenty of rarity lunatics out there that will pay everything imaginable to have the highest rarity version of a card in their deck. So since this retro format has become so popular, this is the best, highest rarity version of this card. And since basically every deck wants to play it, there's only a finite number of copies because it was distributed as a, local prize pack promotional card. So they're quite rare, all things considered, and as a result, it has driven the market for this card to insane heights, and that's where we are today.
All right. Notepad says promos are insane, and can you... You don't have to answer this if you think it's going to give me too much advantage later, but I want to ask, how much does just a good old common regular version cost?
You could probably get an original, not even original, but this has also been reprinted, like I said, with every card multiple times. You could get this card for 2 cents, probably, if you wanted to. 2
cents?
Yes, 2 cents or $520, and it does the same thing.
Freaking card game nerds are the same, man. They're the same. This is insane. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Beautiful.
So that was a big miss, but you almost talked yourself into it. You almost talked yourself into it, which I was losing it. I was like, if he says 500, I'm actually
I didn't think you guys were that crazy. I really didn't. Okay, I get it now.
We'll see how crazy you think we are after this one here. So, continuing on the line of tournament pack promotional cards. This is a really neat card. I'm going to let you read it first, and I'll give you some context for it.
Morphing Jar is level 2 monster with 700 attack, 600 defense. It is a rock that has an effect. Flip. What? Both you and your opponent discard all cards in your hands and draw 5 cards from your respective decks.
So a couple things here. I don't think I've showed you a flip effect monster before, but if you recall, when I said with normal summons, you can either normal summon in face-up attack position or set it in face-down defense position. This is one of those cards that you'd want to set in face-down defense position because it has what's called a flip effect. A flip effect is either when you, during your next turn after setting it, manually flip the card face up, or your opponent attacks into it, flipping the card up. will trigger this effect. It's a mandatory effect that happens when the card is flipped face up. If the card is destroyed before it's flipped face up, nothing happens. It just goes straight to the graveyard. That's sort of the context for how a flip effect works. This card was printed in Tournament Pack 2. This is a part of the original Tournament Pack series of cards. Not Tournament Pack 1, but the second wave of it, TP2. This was an ultra rare, and this was the first time this card had ever been printed into the trading card game in the first year of its existence.
Okay. So you want to play it face down, and then when the opponent attacks it, you turn it face up?
Yes. So either, let's say your turn, you set this monster past the turn. Then your opponent summons a monster, goes to battle, attacks this monster. Before the Morphing Jar is destroyed, it gets flipped face up, and it would trigger the effect for both you and your opponent to discard your hands and draw 5. Then it gets destroyed. Alternatively, let's say your opponent also sets a monster and passes. Let's say they don't attack your Morphing Jar. On your next turn, you can flip the Morphing Jar face up. This doesn't count as your normal summon or a special summon. It's called a flip summon, actually. You can flip the Morphing Jar face up and manually trigger the effect yourself for you guys to discard 5 and draw 5.
Feels like the latter would be what you'd want, because if the opponent plays out some stuff, attacks this, and then draws 5 more and plays out more free stuff, that seems very bad for you.
Because everything's free.
It seems it seems like you're giving them a huge turn. That sounds really bad to me. In Magic, we have the wheels, discard, all players discard their hand, draw this many cards. And whether or not a wheel is good is usually dependent on whether or not you can take advantage of the new cards drawn before your opponents do. And this is telling me that if the opponent attacks it, they get the first mover advantage. I think there are problems with this card, but we did in the last video, I'm remembering this, there are ways to just flip something as part of like a spell, right?
Yes. So Book of Moon, I think, is the card that you're referencing. So hypothetically, if you're morphing, let's say you flip your Morphing Jar up yourself and you both discard 5, draw 5. If you have a Book of Moon, you could activate that to reflip the jar face down. You're not allowed to flip it immediately again after that because you already flipped it face up for the turn. But on the following turn, if the jar were to survive again, you could do it again hypothetically.
Yeah.
If you wish. Yes.
Yeah. So there are probably ways to manipulate this effect. Also, my evaluation of the effect comes from a super spiky perspective. People love these effects. Like they will play it when there's no advantage to them because it's fun.
Who doesn't want to draw 5 cards, right?
Yeah. There is definitely a fun element to this that is going to ignore strategic advice, and some of those, as you say, casino cards in Magic fetch a high price point because people like to play them, not because they're particularly busted. So first of all, I'm supposed to figure out if this card was ever banned and how good it is. I don't think it's as good as it looks, but there might be ways to manipulate that, combo off, and go crazy. At that point, is this card the problem, or are the other cards around it the problem? I could see it. There is a card in Magic history called Memory Jar, which might be coloring my perception, that got banned just because it also drew a bunch of cards and you got rid of hands and discarded cards.
I wonder if there's some inspiration there because it's also a jar. That's funny.
Yeah, I think they came out about the same-ish time. Okay, maybe Magic's was a bit sooner. Memory Jar got banned within but let's not talk about that anyway.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Kazuki Takahashi, the creator of the game, was inspired by Magic to make Yu-Gi-Oh! So I wouldn't be surprised if that's, partially where this card came from.
Oh, that's really cool. I'm still trying to figure out if it got banned. I think it's possible. But at the same time, my strategic brain wants to say it's not that bad. And I'm going to take a guess that this is a good card that's super important to some types of combo decks. Sometimes combo decks need to get banned. So at one point in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm going to say this card was banned.
It was. So Morphing Jar, before we get into the price, Morphing Jar has an interesting trajectory throughout Yu-Gi-Oh!'s history. For the most part, I want to say Morphing Jar was limited to 1, so that you were never allowed to play more than 1 copy of it. The reason for this was because in the OCG, the Asia format, Mill was actually an incredibly popular strategy because Morphing Jar, along with several other jar cards that do similar things to this, but just in a different way, kind of similar to your wheels in Magic. Mill was one of the best decks in the OCG, and because Morphing Jar was at 3, that was one of the reasons that it was allowed to be so strong. So when it was brought over here to the TCG, it was limited to 1 rather quickly and was kind of at 1 for an incredibly long time. It was I don't want to say the centerpiece, but it was very important for several decks like aggro decks who would run out of gas. And then you would set a Morphing Jar. All of a sudden, you refuel your hand. You get a brand new hand. Doesn't matter if your opponent gets a couple cards. You just want to keep the pressure going. Burn decks especially really benefited from Morphing Jar because they would typically use all their cards. They'd run out. Now I need a new hand. Morphing Jar was a perfect answer to that. There were some gimmicky FTK mill decks that Morphing Jar was a part of, as well as other jars. And that's, part of the reason why the card may have spent some time on the ban list. But it's like you said, it was just a pretty decent card, all things considered. It's definitely the role of the pilot to skillfully use this card correctly. You identified wanting to have initiative when you draw the 5 rather than your opponent attacking into it. Sometimes you were desperate, didn't have much of a choice. Overall, Morphing Jar, it's a very iconic card, and it's a very fun card at that. And no one knows what's going to happen when everyone draws 5, so it's a good time. But the big question is, what do you think this is worth?
Numbers. First of all, you mentioned mill. What is the deck size again?
40 is the minimum,
okay.
60 is the maximum.
But for
the most part, 40 was what most people were playing.
I should have asked that. Okay. All right. Banned at one point, a part of mill decks. You know what's true about mill decks in Magic? The blue players who like mill decks really like mill decks. Oh my god. Mill in the title of your video, click, 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 click. Especially if they don't think a mill deck is viable. If there isn't a popular mill deck in a format and you put mill in the title of a video for like a new deck for the format, they want to believe. They want to believe so bad. Click, 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 click. So mill's popularity. And this card, it was ultra rare in a tournament pack, first time available, mega shiny version.
Yes, and being the ultra rare, which for this specific pack was the highest rarity, it only did common, rare, super, ultra for these tournament packs. It was pretty hard to pull because I believe I don't know if it was the only ultra, if there was 2, and I'm just misremembering, but it again has the least likely pull rate in the entire product.
I think it's got to be more up there than a bottomless trap hole. Because it's that kind of promo, right? I'm not crazy. Those are the kind of promos.
So it's from the same type of. It's from the same type of set, but this is also the second one of these types of promo packs that were ever created.
Yeah. All right, and the last one saw basically a 500% increase.
Yep.
Over just the standard version. What is the standard rarity of this?
This comes in super rare, common. Like it's been, again, similar to every card. It's been, all of these cards I'm showing you probably have at least like 10, 15, 20 plus printings in availability. Okay. So you can get this card for like 5 cents if you wanted to.
Okay. Oh man, look at that face. Look at those teeth. Is this going to be...
It's very, I don't know if you watched Full Metal Alchemist at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very like Dwarf in the Flask-esque.
Oh, it's homunculus stuff. Yeah. Oh my god. I think this is the one that goes over 1,000. I think this is going to be the one. I think it's so much more compelling than a removal spell. It's so exciting. Like, you just have those people who believe the more they spend on the card, the more likely that the better their RNG with the card will be.
I wish that was the case.
Oh, that's 100% true, and don't let anyone tell you different, especially if they work for a card company.
It is. That's why I was laughing so hard.
Okay, I might be crazy. Like, so I want to go over. I do want to go to 1,000. I want to go over 1,000. When I hear the idea that this might be a card that gets like 1,800, that doesn't sound crazy. So I'm gonna cool myself down. And let's go with the unlucky number for an RNG card. Let's go with 1,300. Let's go with 1,300 for a Morphing Jar.
Final answer.
Yeah.
You really think this card is worth over $1,000?
I think people are crazy. I believe
and you're correct, because this card for a Tournament Pack 2 Morphing Jar, light play, they go for about $1,500. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. This is actually insane.
Oh, okay. I was really close, though. Oh,
you were really close. You were really close.
Oh, 1,500 came into my head, too. I was going to go 14, 15. I don't think I can take a full point for 13. I cooled myself down
even if it's a half point, I'm impressed you even decided to go past 4 figures for this. That's genuinely impressive. I can't wait to see the reactions what everyone's gonna have in the comments. This is incredible.
I know you crazy. I know you crazies out there. I know how you work. I'm low key one of you. I buy way too many shiny cards that I could get for cheaper.
So we only have a few left. This is another spell card.
Change of Heart. Whoa, but What is this art?
It's cool art. Huh?
Yeah. Talk about living in two worlds, but with the same heart, right? It's poetic. It's a magic card. Select and control one opposing monster, regardless of position on the field, until the end of your turn.
So a bit of context. This is a very old card, so it's worded very poorly. Similar to the Monster Reborn we talked about earlier, this was not released in the first set. It was actually released in the second set, which is called Metal Raiders. It's an ultra rare, so it was a 1 in 12 chance to pull an ultra rare, and there's like 8 to 10 ultra rares in a set, so not super likely to pull it, but still a very iconic card nonetheless. When it comes to Change of Heart, it just has a very simple effect. Tell me what you think about it.
Whoever took this picture has it in a sleeve, so that's my first hint. The only way this is not a good card is if your opponent plays no minions, no monsters, or they play bad monsters. That doesn't seem like what this game is about.
Okay.
If I take my opponent's monster, can I look at it? Can I flip it?
Yes. So Change of Heart, you can take the monster. So hypothetically, if your opponent sets a Morphing Jar, you can activate Change of Heart to take that Morphing Jar, and now you can flip it up manually.
Oh god. So that alone, just that technology, knowing what's up, seems really good. It seems really good. Oh, wait a minute. You told me about this. You summon level 5 and higher by sacrificing, right?
Correct.
No. Okay, busted. This got banned at some point. Absolutely busted. There's no way you just play with 3 of these. There's no way you played the game with 3 of these all the time. I'm banned.
You're correct.
Banned.
You're correct. Yes, you're correct. I will say, though, this may blow your mind. This card is legal once again. They actually recently unbanned this card for the TCG, which was really cool because people were really excited to see that this card that's been banned for, I want to say 20 years, all of a sudden came off the ban list. And it's actually does see play. It does. It's still good enough by today's standards that it does still see play.
Okay, so we're going to get into price talk. So this was banned for a long time?
Yeah, it was banned. So the first, let me give you some context. So cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Were never initially banned. What they would do is if they were a problem, they would always limit them to 1 or semi-limit them to 2. A lot of the power cards like Change of Heart here would usually get limited to 1. Then a few years after Yu-Gi-Oh! Started to get going, they released one particular card that forced them to create Yu-Gi-Oh!'s first ban list. And Change of Heart was, I believe, one of the first cards alongside that other card that you may or may not see in a future video. To join some other cards on the ban list for that first time. Pot of Greed was also another one. For context.
I remember the Pot of Greed. Oh my god.
I bet you do.
That face haunts my dreams. Thank you. All right.
So Change of Heart was banned very early on. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it was that list. If not, it was like maybe 1 or 2 after that, but it was banned in like 2005, 2006 at most, and has not seen the light of day until like literally 2 ban lists ago, which was like this year.
During that time that it was banned, would it be an accurate guess to say that it wasn't reprinted very much?
It has a few reprints throughout the time it was legal initially, and then upon bringing it back into the game, they did reprint it with better text than what you're reading here. And I believe also in like different rarities as well. So it has maybe like the fewest printings out of every card that I've shown you, I want to say. If not, it's very close. Just because of the fact it's been banned for so long, there hasn't really been a reason for them to reprint it. I'm actually curious now while you think it over.
Does the Yu-Gi-Oh! Price economy follow bans and ban announcements the way that the Magic economy does? Like in the way that if a card is banned, does the price go down? And if a card is unbanned, does the price go up?
Typically, I will say that is the case.
Okay, so there is some connection to the competitive meta, basically.
There's
market.
Also speculation that, like, oh, maybe a card will come unbanned one day, and so people might buy it preemptively before the spike, and sometimes cause, like, you know, mass hysteria. And I imagine Magic's similar in that regard.
Nice.
Yeah.
Some speculation, huh? Oh, God, this card is so good.
And it's free!
It's free! It's all free. It's limited supply. It's at least compared to some of the other things. It's very, very rare.
I take back what I said. This card actually has quite a few printings. Even before the reprint, it has quite a few printings. I did not realize it actually had this many printings. It didn't help that the reprint gave it 7 different printings, but that's okay.
Ever since Dark Magician Girl, I can't help but notice the price has been going up. Are you price creeping me? Is this going to be the most expensive one?
Well, technically, Monster Reborn was lower than Dark Magician Girl, and so was Bottomless Trap Hole.
I know. Since then, we drew
and that
a
has just been
little
steadily
line.
increasing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yep.
Would I do that? I'm actually just giving you a monster spell and a trap just for variety, more so than anything.
I mean, it's not as exciting as Morphing Jar, but it's so powerful. It is so powerful, and playing an original edition of that is probably very, very flex on them, you know? It is a slam dunk card that makes people go, ugh. All right. So at first I'm trying to justify, like, would I $2,000 this card? And I'm trying to justify that. Honestly, when I look at what the card does, I think it's as powerful. I think it's better than Morphing Jar, but it's not exciting in the way that Morphing Jar is. Still, I could see it being in that range. They're two sides of the same coin. One is your vegetables and you have to have it, and the other is like put extra money in this and you'll get better RNG. But they're like two different players, but they both have an audience. They both have an audience that spends money is what's important. Like the tryhard spike and the mega gambler. So I keep thinking about it and I can't figure out, like, more or less. I'm just gonna go the same. I'm gonna go 1,500 with Morphing. Like, I'm gonna put it right there next to it. I'm gonna go 1,500.
Final answer.
This one might be a lot lower because it is just fruits and vegetables playable, but yes, final answer.
This might be your biggest miss yet, CGB, because if you want a first edition Metal Raiders Ultra Rare Change of Heart, it is the cheapest card we have discussed so far at $110.
Wow, it's such a good card, though.
It is. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy? Busto.
It is. I do think one of the biggest differences here is that because this was distributed in a main booster set as opposed to those specific tournament packs that I was talking about, I think that really hinders. Yeah, I think that really hinders how many copies of this card are in circulation, just because the tournament packs were so few and far between, especially in the early days, because people had to actually go to like the local shops to play, where this was just a booster set you'd see on the shelves, you know, at either a game store or like a Target or a Walmart or whatever.
Yep, I forgot about the special tournament packy thing. Yep. I just blanked. What was the number again?
This was $110.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Still a lot for like an original version of a card, to be fair. And I will say, I think what hurt the value of this card is recently there was a product release called the Rarity Collection. The Rarity Collection reprinted several cards in 7 different rarities, and Change of Heart was one of them. And some of those rarities people might prefer to this original version just because it like has a rarity that they like better versus like just having the OG original printing. I mean, you could argue that could have hurt the value. I think people still like playing with the OG versions of them, and it's just a very classic card. A lot of people just remember this card from their childhood.
Okay, cool. I'll live with myself.
2 cards remaining. So let's go ahead and show you this one.
Trap Dustshoot. Open in browser, increase font size. This trap card says activate only when your opponent has 4 or more cards in their hand. Look at their hand, select a monster card, return that card to its owner's deck.
So before you get too deep in the weeds here, I'll give you some context about how this card was printed. Similar to Bottomless Trap Hole, this was printed in a champion pack, which is another one of those packs that is exclusive to the shops from playing. And this was printed, I think, later. I think it was after Bottomless Trap Hole. This card was originally printed as a common card. So very easy to obtain just from I think it was like the 6th or 7th set Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever printed. Very easy to obtain. And then it got reprinted. This is a super rare version. It's hard to tell, but the picture of this card is very foil and shiny.
It is very hard to tell. Oh, man. I need to see some cards in person now because I can't even get a good idea of the foiling from some of these. All right, you said super rare. That's not even ultra rare.
It's not even ultra rare.
It's not even
not even secret rare.
What the? Come on, this is pathetic. What's going on here? All right, people like this effect too. Love looking at their hand, taking the thing you like the most. So you put it down as a trap, and then if the opponent plays something that refills their hand, draws up their hand, hits their card draw, and you get a monster, and it goes back in its deck. It doesn't even go to the graveyard, so they might draw it later, but it's still down a card. It's a 1-for-1. How good is that? It's weird because, like, evaluating this from Magic terms, you'd look into the cost of the spell and the cost of the thing you're likely to put back, and here it's free. So does that make this better? Because it might be one of the only ways to stop a big monster from hitting you. It might be, I guess now we were looking at the Bottomless, at the other trap card that killed things, and that's got to be better than this, right? But I guess some have enters effects, I'm guessing. They have effects upon hitting the board.
Some do. Some cards do have a card that say when it is summoned, do X. However, Bottomless would not stop that effect from resolving. How it would work is the monster would enter play, activate its effect, and then Bottomless could be used as Chain Link 2 to banish that monster, but the effect would still resolve, which I imagine is similar to Magic.
Yeah, this would stop it because you just yoink it from their hand.
Yeah, it's in their hand. Yeah, it's not even hitting the field.
Also seems kind of good with the jar. Seems kind of good with the Morphing Jar. This is another vegetable card. Whatever version we're looking at is over $100, means it's probably played somewhere. I don't think this was ever banned. I don't see anything toxic here. This is a perfectly, like, playable answer to certain cards, so that not just you can print really powerful enters effects and they won't be unanswerable in your game. So to me, this is not banned.
You are incorrect.
What?
Trap Dustshoot, this might blow your mind. Trap Dustshoot is still banned to this very day. So let me talk about Trap Dustshoot while you also try to figure out how much this is worth. Trap Dustshoot is a series of cards that allow you to look at the opponent's hand and do something to interact with it. This one in particular probably has some of the most restrictions out of any card in its class. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, and I don't know how this pertains to Magic, but in Yu-Gi-Oh! Specifically, hand knowledge is one of, like, the sacred things that is just not allowed. Because if you're allowed to look at your opponent's hand, the game is effectively over, because now you are basically going to be able to play around every single thing your opponent has, even if the games progress longer like they did back in the old days. Nowadays, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot faster and the games end a lot quicker. In the old days especially, Trap Dustshoot is a card that if it got flipped on you, you could just start your turn, set Trap Dustshoot, pass the turn. Your opponent starts their turn, you Trap Dustshoot them, take the best monster out of their hand, you know the other 5 cards they have, and now you're able to play around everything perfectly and just take full advantage of the fact that you know their whole hand. So more often than not, when Trap Dustshoot is activated, it essentially creates a non-game, and the win rate for when someone activates Trap Dustshoot is so high that it is a card that has been very banned for a very long time.
You've got to be kidding me. Like, like, get good, you guys. Like why are you just, you're losing because they know your plays in Magic? I always get on people who, like, tell me things like there are cards that are like target player reveals their hand, you know, and that's like the whole point of the card. And they're like, the hand knowledge. And I'm like, get over it. Like, in Magic, we know what our opponents are playing by how they play their cards, by their sequencing, by their body language. Like good players always have reads on their opponent. Like, that is a gift. Like, that is a talent that we cultivate, and we have to both give false signals and play around things. You're telling me that if somebody sees your hand, you're just done. You might as well scoop them up. That's what you're telling me in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I can't believe this. That is insane to me. I get that a core mechanic is the face down position card and the trap card, right? I get where they're coming from with that and why that's important, because it's much more about surprises. And because everything is free, you don't have, like, you don't look at, like, how your opponent tapped their mana, what mana they kept open, like you do in Magic. Trust me. People are going to sound off on that in the comments. I get it. But
I can't wait.
Still, like, you draw a card every turn, right? And there are cards that draw more cards.
I will push back a bit here and say a couple things. One, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot faster because since we rely on a mana system, right? We are able to effectively end games a lot faster because we don't have this slow accumulation of resources. So let's say someone gets hit by a turn 1 Dustshoot. If the opponent knows that they have no answers to, like, their way to OTK the opponent, then they can just go in and the game is effectively over and there's nothing the opponent can do about it. Whereas with Magic, a card like this may not be considered very good because draw, play a land, maybe play a creature. We don't have summoning sickness, right? There's so many factors at play here that I think makes a card like Dustshoot way more powerful in Yu-Gi-Oh versus compared to Magic.
I mean, I am acting indignant. I am definitely learning a lot about the game from this card. I'm acting indignant, but I am absorbing because I still want to be good at this. So like, sure, it's a very different value system and it blows my mind. Like, this is the most insane thing I've seen today. Expensive waifus, sure. It's really expensive RNG laced cards that draw cards that have fun effects, sure. Trap Dustshoot, I see your hand, I win. What? Okay. Okay. It's like everything being free, but worse. Now I've got to, I was wrong about the ban. I was wrong about how good it is. I've got to figure out how much people pay for a primo version of this. And it's still banned.
Yeah, you know that it's good now, and you know it's still banned.
But it might not be someday. And this was in the super secret pack, right? This is like a super rare pack. Okay.
And I will say, I will give you a hint, in the popular Retro Edison format, this card is still legal at 1 copy.
1 copy.
It's limited to 1. And not long after this, this card got banned.
All right. So if this would be like an $800 card, right? Get like 3 of them, right? But now you can only have 1 copy in the super popular format. Basically, you can add up the price they would have spent on the 3 into 1, and you call it like $2,400.
I will say, into the second most popular retro format called GOAT format, this card's legal at 3.
Okay. This card is basically GG because now I'm the smartest player at the table. I have seen all your secrets and there's nothing you can do about it. This card ensures victory, is what I've heard. That's what I've heard. How much would you pay to not only ensure victory, but stunt on your opponent while doing it? God. Okay, the factor I don't know is how much the band in like the regular format is playing into this, because that has to be like I think I really would say like maybe this is the most expensive one so far. Like maybe it's like $2,500. I would say that, and then it's like, well, it's not playable currently in the regular format, so people aren't rolling up into like the world championships with this card. That's gotta mean something. So I have to cool down.
I will say the retro format tournaments are officially supported, and so basically it is similar. I don't know like what the YCS equivalent for Magic, maybe the Pro Tour, like what one Grand Prix, is that what you guys have? Something like that. So at those events you can also play in the retro format. They have like a side tournament that is for all the people playing retro formats, and they usually get 200 to 400 people.
So maybe I'm right.
I could just be also just messing with you and just steering you in the completely opposite direction.
I don't know, man. You showed me a lot of cards. I'm very wrong about how playable it is, so I'm already in the bad spot. But if it's the impression that you've given me and that the ban list is like reflecting that this hand knowledge is super coveted and potentially game ending, maybe I'm not wrong about like 2,400. Maybe not. There's a mental barrier at 2,000. Does this break it? But something's got to be really highly sought after. And it should probably be a card like this that just shoves it in your face. But I think 2,000's got to be too high. Okay. Let's go with 1,800.
Final answer.
Yeah.
You are not even close. A champion pack Trap Dustshoot super rare goes for about $400.
God, what? Okay, I'm just... Really? If it's that good? Okay, but
yep.
All right.
I think the biggest thing that helps this card stay somewhat of a reasonable price is the fact you only need 1 of it if you're playing the most popular retro format. So it's not like in the second most popular where you need 3 copies of it. So there's enough copies, I think, to go around that it's still expensive, but it's not like people are trying to get as many of them as humanly possible. But it is basically played in every single deck in the retro formats. It is that good.
It does feel like the banned in standard though thing is a limiter, and I was really unsure about that.
Sure.
Yeah, it feels like it. Okay, because it.
Last card. And this is a particularly special card. Everything I've shown you thus far has been something that is, playable, or something that is, a higher rarity version of one card. I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to give you some context for this. And I'm going to throw everything, I want you to throw everything out the window of what you've learned today thus far.
Oh, okay. Cool. Tyler the Great Warrior is a level 8 monster that looks nothing like anything I've ever seen before. Attack 3000, defense 1500. This monster cannot be special summoned. Cool. When this card destroys a monster as a result of a battle and send it to its graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the attack of the destroyed monster.
So before we get too far into it, let's talk about Tyler. So
sure.
Tyler
original
is
IP.
A one-of-a-kind Yu-Gi-Oh card. It is a one-of-a-kind Yu-Gi-Oh card. There's only one copy of this card in existence. The reason for this card's existence was because Tyler, the creator of the card, actually suffered from a rare form of liver cancer, and this was his Make-A-Wish request, was to make his own Yu-Gi-Oh card. And so you can see some of the inspiration behind, what the card, the card art looks like. And this was ultimately the card that got created. And what was cool is that Tyler actually survived. He went through all of his chemotherapy and everything, and he's normal. He's alive. He's well. He's living his life. Everything's great. And so this card, recently, I actually helped broker the transaction for it. This card recently was changed hands. Tyler was interested in Yu-Gi-Oh and anime and stuff back in the day. He's moved on, and he decided to part ways with the card because he wanted to use the money from selling this card to fund his future hopes and dreams and endeavors. And so, very heartwarming story. And I thought it'd be fun, since we were doing a evaluation of Yu-Gi-Oh card prices, to throw this card in here and see what you think this card might be worth.
All right. Are we just going to talk about worth and not whether,
You can talk about if you think the card is good or... I mean, obviously, it wasn't banned because it was technically, it's technically a playable card, but there's only one of it. So, you can evaluate if it's good or not.
It is a full one of one. It's never been reprinted. It's never been printed in bulk. It's never been a booster. It's a one of one.
It's a one of one. It was a custom-made card. Yep.
I mean, talking about whether or not it's good, it doesn't necessarily matter because it can't break a format, right? It can't.
I mean, it's kind of funny because people talk about whether or not it's good, just for fun. But,
I mean, I think it's an ultimate, it's a hell of a swing. It's a very good swing. When you're hitting something big, there's probably a world where you kind of win the game. Level 8's a lot.
It is a lot.
That might be barely castable. It's a huge investment, but the damage payoff is tremendous. Without actually seeing it happen, I would say it's a very exciting card that's probably situational and extremely all-in expensive. So it seems... I'm not positive it's balanced because I don't know if there's some kind of ways to cheat with it, but it definitely seems like a highly powerful effect at a very high cost, which is usually a good thing in a game. Doesn't seem busted.
This card's bad.
Okay.
This card is...
Well, it's not busted, and I'm right.
By any stretch of the imagination, this card is not good. The effect is, fine. It's okay, but it's, even... You have to think, this was created by someone who was a literal child, and so if you're a child watching the anime, you would kind of just think, yeah, I'm gonna have it, just be big guy that does, cool, flashy thing. But in terms of, actual playability, if this card was actually, able to be played by the masses, even by old Yu-Gi-Oh standards, because this is a very old card, this card would never be played.
Okay,
so
it's a 1 out of 10 power scale.
I mean, maybe 2, just because the burn damage could come up. But it's the fact you can't if you could special summon it, I think it'd be better. The fact you can't special summon it's a real hindrance because you can't cheat it out in any way.
Okay.
And it just dies to any removals. It dies to bottomless trap hole.
Nice.
Yeah.
So whoever got their hands on it is probably on a mission to win a game with this card.
So what about the price? What do you think about this?
I mean, 101 is a big deal, man.
It is.
101
I know
is
you guys have a 1-of-1 card in your game.
The One Ring. I mean, tying it to the Lord of the Rings, was pretty amazing. And what did it go for? Like 2 million, something like that. I mean, but you've got to, like, there's more to it than that. Like, there's the set, there's the Lord of the Rings tie-in. There are people who love Lord of the Rings and don't care about Magic even a little. This is a story, but it is a Yu-Gi-Oh story. And it is bigger than Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, battling life-threatening disease as a child is bigger than Yu-Gi-Oh! It doesn't transcend into other fandoms unless there are specific like fandoms about, you know, battling disease, right? And like it's not the same. It's just not the same.
This was a story of legend when we were all kids, because they publicized this in magazines like Yu-Gi-Oh magazines. I think like Beckett and like some of these companies used to have magazines. So we would read about it or see it on the internet in the early days, and people like never knew if the card existed, or people thought Tyler was dead and all this stuff. And then it came to light that he's alive and the card is he still had the card and everything. So it was like this King Arthur moment, right? Where it's like, oh my God, like, you know, one of the grails of Yu-Gi-Oh was discovered after all this time. It was a really cool moment for our community.
In a different sense and far less wholesome, but, you know, different sense, there's a one-of-one world champion card out there somewhere that a player won in the very early days of Magic, and in theory still has, but it would be kind of the same thing if they emerged and sold it. Like, what do you price it as, right?
Right. How do you price? There's some tournament cards from the early days that are also one-of-ones.
Yeah, how do you price the priceless? So what would I be willing to take to part with this and kind of move on with life? Would I take like a year's minimum wage like salary? Would I take like $40,000 for something like that? It's so difficult because I don't know where Tyler is. You know, I don't know where Tyler is at in life. So how old would Tyler be right now? Can you give me any info?
He's in his 30s. He's in his 30s.
30s. Big deal. Big deal. You know, making one's way in the world. Maybe it's time to think about a family, right? Maybe it's time to start thinking about the kids' college. I don't know. If I were in college and just trying to pay the darn bills and not be in poverty, I might part with something like this for a lower amount. You know, you're trying to think big picture. I think that drives the price up. I don't know if I would sell this for like a year's salary, but like once you get over certain factors, like an average salary, once you get it over like 75K, then maybe. Still, like, I don't want this to sound like I'm judging Tyler either. This is 100% Tyler's call. Like, sure. I don't like, there's the question of what is the value of a possession? All possessions are in the end, maybe not exactly what one should focus on, which is weird to say in a card game video.
You're getting existential about
it. But it's hard not to, because this is about Tyler's mindset. This is about where Tyler is in Tyler's life, and I do not know. You know, I don't want to go down a road where that sounds like I'm judging this person, because I can only go from where I am. Like, what would I part with this for? Now, I can try to take a guess about the market, but I don't think it has anything to do with that. What would I part with a one-of-one that helped me fight a life-threatening disease for? My line, I think, would honestly, I mean this honestly, and you know, now you guys can turn it around on me if you want to, and this is not to judge Tyler. I think my line would be 200,000. I think it would be. I think at that amount, I can do something that makes somebody, like, significantly enhances the lives of several people around me at the cost of this thing that is borderline priceless to me, that may have literally helped save my life. That's where my line is.
It's really fitting that you put it that way, because Tyler did also want to start several businesses as part of his way to give back and, you know, to help contribute back to society in a positive way. So it's fitting. You'll be happy to know that the one-of-one Tyler the Great Warrior ended up selling for over $300,000.
I'm clapping. Oh, that honestly, that makes me feel really, the more I thought about it, the more I was going to feel absolutely deflated if it was for like 40,000 or something. I would have, like, it actually might have broken my heart, because the more I thought about it, the more I got attached. So that makes me feel so good. That makes me
trust me, we were nervous.
So
it went to auction, so we were very nervous.
Thank you to the people who bid that up. Like, you guys see the big, like, thank you for being a part of the big picture. I'm obviously they earned their money undervalued. Somewhere. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think it is, but I think I'm glad it went for a number that is very game changing money. Like to an average citizen of the world, that is game-changing money. That can do so many things for you at that stage in life. So cool.
So CGB, that is it for our little game today. How do you feel? What do you feel about Yu-Gi-Oh now? I'm gonna ask you this probably at the end of every video.
I definitely see a lot more similarities with Magic. Plus, you got waifu tax, which is delightful. That's great. That's great. There is a Liliana that I want. I'll show you someday. We'll try to figure out the price. That makes it all kind of make sense to me. But some of the things I was way off on, that makes sense. I don't have a basis. I'm trying to solve equations, but I felt really good about just seeing that we have some things in common. And honestly, I think if I had gotten everything severely wrong and felt like a total idiot right now, I would still feel great after that story. Like, I'm so happy about that story. So, and I think,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm even happy I undershot it. That's great. That is actually great.
I think your overall evaluation of everything was actually spot on, except for Trap Dustshoot. And I think really that's just, I think you really need to play Yu-Gi-Oh to really understand like
you
the power
made my brain
card.
Explode. I can't evaluate after that.
That's why I put it towards the end. I was hoping to get that reaction.
I know your hand. You're gonna lose. It's so, that is so like, I've seen all your secrets and now you can't possibly beat me is kind of so anime villain that I actually like it now.
So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all of their continued support. So shout out to Shout1317, Sim00x3, MBT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Menhoben, Little Fadeleaf, Draconic, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Brian Dancer of Class 7, Flannel Daddy, Twinkle Muncher, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLapperty, Stolfin Amethyst, Wonder Waffle, MBT canceled by community soon, canceled by all committee soon, canceled by all players soon, Corvain, absolute angriest peacock of the Edison Club, Daniel Howell, and life keeps using solemn judgment on my hopes and dreams. Thank you all so much again for watching, and we will see you next time.